Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to another wrap-up. Yet again, I managed to read 3 books and I want to talk to you about them. So the first one is Studying Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. This is a story from the world of Sherlock Holmes, sort of, or, basically we follow the descendants of Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes. The narrator is Jamie Watson, who comes to America. He is sent there to a boarding school. For a while he was living in London with his mother because his parents are divorced, and his father is from the US and he lives there, but they're not really in touch. And now he finds himself in the US in this boarding school, and he's sort of uncertain how he feels about that, but he knows that Charlotte Holmes goes there, and he sort of has been keeping himself in the loop as what's going on with her, because she has helped the Scotland Yard in the past, and she's a sort of a detective like her ancestor, and but they don't really know each other, and they meet and they don't get along at all. But then somebody blames them for this murder that is happening, and they have to basically clear their names, and sort of they start working together. And well, honestly, as much as a Holmes can work with anyone, and basically that's it. And throughout the book then we try to figure out who is behind everything and what does that mean and what do they want and all of that. All in all, it was an okay book. Honestly, I'll have to say that I'm not a huge fan. Oh, I'm not a fan at all of Sherlock Holmes. I really don't like the character, to be honest. So really it was silly of me to think that I will feel differently about this book, since they are sort of replicas of their ancestors, Jamie and Charlotte, of course. And but okay, it was a fine book. I gave it, I think, 3 stars, so it was an average book. I don't really care for Charlotte. She is slightly arrogant. She keeps things to herself, doesn't inform Jamie about stuff, and then he accidentally stumbles into things that he would be better off for him if he didn't. And all in all, it was an okay book. If you like Sherlock Holmes and you want to read a young adult version of that, definitely give it a try. For some reason I thought I was gonna like it, and during the winter I sort of felt like I want to read a young adult murder mystery, and that's why I got it. And I will probably continue on with this series, but I will not be buying an actual physical copy of it. I will just, listen to it on Scribd or something like that. And yeah, it was fine, but really not my favorite. The next book that I read is the first book that I read during Tome Topple, and since I'm not doing a separate wrap-up for that, I'm just going to include these books in these wrap-ups, and that book was The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. This is a book that I tried reading last year when it came out, and then I just sort of didn't feel it, and I decided to give it another go because the sequel is coming out this year. And back then I was not even aware that there was going to be a sequel, but now I can see why there would be one. And this is actually sort of an urban fantasy book. It takes place in Manhattan, but there are magical elements, of course, to this world. And we follow Esta as she is trying to find these objects. And in order to do that, she has to travel to the past and bring them to the present. So there's a bit of time travel as well. And on one of her missions, things don't exactly go according to plans, and she has to they have to, the person that she works for and herself, they have to figure out another plan. And we see her, basically we follow her as she travels back to the 1920s in New York, and there she sort of has to find this book that's very important. The thing is, in this world there is a thing called the Brink, and the Brink was created by the Order, and it surrounds Manhattan. And what that means for the mages, which the magical people in this world are called, is that whenever a mage comes into Manhattan, they're fine, but when they want to leave, they will basically die if they cross that barrier, or if they're necessary. Well, some may survive but just lose their magical powers, because if they're sort of like a weaker version of a mage, but if they're strong they will die. So of course the mages want to get rid of the Brink, and they think that that book will help. So Esta goes back and we see her trying to get the book, and we just basically follow her as she gets entangled into this other time, and with new characters and new people that she meets. And I actually really ended up enjoying this book. Recently I figured that I really like these atmospherical books, and if the thing is done really well, I really enjoy the book in that, because of that. And Esther as a character was also very likable. She's the kind of character, a young adult female character that I really like. She's strong, she's independent, she's not whiny, she knows what she has to do and she goes for that. And she doesn't just, you know, she's not a wallflower, she's not a dainty little girl, she's just, you know, strong and tough and all that. And I think that sort of was mind-boggling to the men in the 1920s, because there was this woman that did things that no woman that they knew would do. She was not cowering before them, and she was just really independent and unlike anything they've seen. Although I think that probably even back then there were women like that, so, you know, but okay, that's for the purposes of this book anyways. And yeah, I really liked it. And at the end, I'm not gonna say that there's like a cliffhanger, but there are definitely some loose threads that will probably be explored in the next book. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. And the cover is just beautiful, this one and that one. So yeah, I definitely recommend, if you want a book like this, give it a go. It really surprised me very pleasantly. Oh, I loved it. And then the next book was just fantastic, and this was sort of my, I don't know, I just read a lot of, well, I was reading a lot of fantasy during Tomtopper, and I decided to just mix it up a bit, and I decided to pick up Save the Date by Morgan Matson, which is her latest book. And this story follows Charlie Grant, and she has this big family, and there's going to be, her sister's going to get married during the weekend, and Charlie feels that that is basically the last opportunity that her family will have for them all being together in this house, because her parents have decided, since Charlie is the last, she's about to go to college, and you know, the kids will be basically gone, and they have this huge house and they decide to sell it. And Charlie sees this as basically the last opportunity for the whole family to be together in this house and just have a good time like they used to. And of course there's also a wedding to to take place, and oh, you know, she's pretty excited about that as well. And then of course nothing goes wrong, nothing goes right. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Nothing goes right. Everything's basically a disaster, and it's a really comedic book, I would say, you know, and a really cute one. I really enjoyed it. I will say that I've heard people say that it's predictable, the story is predictable, and yes, it is. Honestly, it is. For me, that didn't do anything. I mean, I didn't care that I could predict things, because honestly, again, this is like I felt with The Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. The story there was nothing special as well, but I really think that some books are not even about the story. I think this is basically about the relationships. Again, this is a huge family, and I love reading about those. Just the chaos that seems to surround them, at least in books, although probably in real life to some extent as well. I just love reading about that. And I love reading about the relationships and how people change, and Charlie really has sort of to grow up during this weekend, because she has a lot of preconceptions, she has a lot of memories that are sort of maybe false and are playing with her. She has certain ideas about her family, and she comes to realize that things are not necessarily as she has thought them to be. And I just really like that, and I just love the dynamic of the family, and that's what I like about this book. And yes, it made me laugh at some points, it was emotional, and you know, I even shed a tear or two, and I like that. And I just, it's lighthearted, but it, you know, it throws a punch despite that. And there's a bit of romance, not really a lot of it, honestly. I mean, Charlie has a crush on this boy, she's had it for a long time, and you know, she thinks that things might happen there. She also meets a new boy, but there's no love triangle, okay? And there's really no love triangle. And I don't know, I really enjoyed it. This is definitely my third favorite Morgan Matson book, following Amy and Roger's Epic Detour and Second Chance Summer. The other two in between I liked, but I really didn't love them as much as especially the first two. And this one sort of is in the middle of all of them, and I really enjoyed it. It's a perfect summer read, I would say, and I just really needed it. I'm really happy that we finally got another book from her, and hopefully we won't have to wait 2 years for the next one, but you know, we will do that and we'll be happy with it, I guess. Anyways, those are all the books that I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you found some interesting information some good books to pick up, hopefully. And thank you for watching this video and see you in my next one. Bye!